the battle, man. Give us you all, make the plays, win the game, get back first place. Let's go, let's go.
And first place on the line for John Hufnagel's team today, as BC moving into a three-way tie for the time being last night with their win against the Eskimos. And next stop for John Hufnagel's crew is at BC Place Stadium next week.
That pregame speech talking about raising that compete level. And in tough situations, adverse situations, showing up and manning up. That's what he wants to see from his team. And talked about discipline, too. This is the most penalized team in the CFL, the Calgary Stampeders. And over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it seems like those penalties came at the worst possible times.
Their closer comes in for the injured Brandon Isaac, and the Roughriders stay on the ground. The 7th-ranked rush team in the CFL. Just under an average of 90 yards per game. And they've run 3 consecutive rush plays so far.
Well, I mentioned just 6 carries for Wes Cates last week in a loss to the BC Lions. And they haven't had over 55 yards rushing or 56 yards rushing since Hugh Charles did it back in August.
First game for Cates against his old team this year. First throw of the game, and that pass is behind the intended target, Kerry Koch. Incomplete, bringing up 3rd down, and there's Jeff Tisdale, who was in coverage.
Well, he was in great coverage. I mean, Jeff Tisdale was basically all over Koch on the outside. Koch is going to move around. They're going to try and mix the lineup up a little bit without Andy Fantu's in it. You can see Jeff Tisdale got away with a little pull. You'll get away with that one, but was all over Kerry Koch.
Chris Milo might have been the best Rough Rider last week. Launches this punt into the corner, and he nails it. A terrific kick from the rookie from Laval, and that will pin the Stampeders deep in their own zone. They're going to mark it out at the 7, so that's a 44-yard boot. So now Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders go to work, and as you mentioned, he has not gone the distance in 2 consecutive starts.
John Cornish starting in the backfield with him. Robbie Bryant, 3 touchdowns last week. He had a bit of a breakout game, and Tim O'Neill back at center. No John Gott.
Larry Taylor back in, and he's in this offensive set. And Larry Taylor catches the pass and gets tripped up at the 12-yard line. Tristan Jackson with that shoestring tackle.
Saskatchewan defensively get Tay George up front. 3 sacks on the season for him. The former Calgary Stampeder has been playing well of late. Take a look at their linebacking core. Jarrell Freeman is playing on a bit of a tender hamstring. Really didn't practice all week long. We'll keep our eye on him and see how he responds here in this one. And they get Lance Fraser back in the secondary at halfback.
Rob Cote, the fullback, now sets up at a tight end spot. On 2nd down, and they pass him a flat complete to Kenyon Rambo. Gets drilled out by Nick Graham, but that's a Stampeder first down. Graham, who was ejected last week, and apologized to his teammates and to fans for his ejection.
Yeah, a late punch. And that's a key loss when Lance Fraser was already out of the lineup due to injury, and the secondary was trying to hang on. Nick Graham. When you do something like that, it's always a selfish move, even though sometimes it does happen.
They stay double tight end. Fake the sweep to Franklin, and it just dump it off to John Cornish. A lot of room there. And John Cornish all the way to the Stampeder 50-yard line. 32 for Cornish.
Good execution here on this play as the Calgary Stampeders are going to option the end and Tay George, and as it comes up the field fast, they don't even block him. He's just going to step up the field, and that's what they want Tay George to do, to come up the field like that and then just throw it in behind him to John Cornish. Does the rest as a bit of an escort.
So the Stamps dig themselves out of a hole, and now Cornish on the ground. And John Cornish has been lethal against Saskatchewan, and look at him go. Finally tracked down by Baron Simpson, but he's all the way to the Roughrider 36. 84 last week, replacing Joffrey Reynolds as the starting tailback in Calgary.
Well, just an outstanding run, and it's all John Cornish from start to finish. In the backfield as the single back here. Steps up the field. Baron Simpson buries himself in the line and gets washed down. That's the first miss outside on Craig Butler, the safety. Now he bounces to the inside. James Patrick gets pushed down, and then Tristan Jackson has a chance as well and can't get him down.
There's LaMarcus Coker, who's one carry last week. His first of the CFL was a 75-yard touchdown run.
So I counted 4 missed tackles on the John Cornish run. And that was, I believe, the fourth right there to Tristan Jackson, finally pushed out of bounds by Jarrell Freeman. That's all Cornish at 84 yards last week in the loss to Hamilton in Moncton.
And 11 yards for Coker, who comes to the sidelines, and now bunch formation to the wide side. And they'll toss it to Taylor, and he'll throw it. Incomplete. He had an open man and missed Kenyon Rambo. So the Stampeders come out with some creative plays.
Little pitch, and when you don't throw much here, the idea is to get right to the fundamentals for Larry Taylor. Rather than try and throw on the run, Larry Taylor needs to stop, plant his feet, and then just drop it in there, because he had a wide open Kenyon Rambo. Because he tried to throw on the run, he misses him by about 3 yards.
2nd and 10, and Henry Burris doesn't like what he sees, and will head to the sidelines with a timeout called. And somebody lined up wrong, and he had some words for Robbie Bryant there. Well, Drew Tate trying to settle down the veteran quarterback who looked like he lost his cool.
Boy, and John Huffnagel not happy with the whole reaction here.
Well, it wasn't much of a conference on the sidelines. And now they're ready to go. 2nd and 10. At the Roughrider 25. Standing in, throwing over the middle, and it's incomplete. Intended for Jabari Arthur, who wants a flag. Busted up by the rookie safety, Craig Butler.
Crossing route. I thought that Craig Butler might have got there just a little bit early, but not too much argument from the Calgary Stampeders. You be the judge here. He closes in there. The ball's arriving, and he puts his body on him just before the ball arrives, but got away with it.
Arthur's biggest game of the year came against Saskatchewan back on August 12th. Here's Rennie Paredes. And Paredes missed it. So a great drive for Calgary, but a missed field goal. And just one for the Stamps. So the Calgary Stampeders drove downfield and come away with only one. That has to be deflating. And now the Roughriders, who have been slow starters this year. 7 times they've had no first quarter points. They're faked by Durant, held on to it a long time and puts that one up for grabs. And it's, fortunately for the Roughriders, incomplete.
Wow. In pocket collapse, it looked like the execution on this play action was off, the timing off. He wants to fake it to Wes Cates, and as Durant turns around, the timing is just off there. That allows that defensive line to get upfield. Charleston Hughes led the drive, flushed Darian Durant inside, and that almost picked off by Keon Raymond. And you're right, Darian Durant, Chris, just wanted to get that football out of bounds.
Roughriders have not scored more than 7 in the first quarter all year. Trouble here, and down goes Durant. Charleston Hughes, 6th sack of the year, and 4 have come against Saskatchewan.
Working on the outside on Dan Goodspeed. Heads straight upfield, gets that strong right arm underneath to get leverage, and then comes around the corner. Darian Durant, really no chance as he's trying to look the opposite direction. Charles Hughes missed a couple of games due to injury. He's been back for 2 now.
There's Milo driving this downfield, and Larry Taylor inside his 35. Missed last week with a rib problem. Good downfield cover. Graham Bell on his horse to get there after a 50-yard punt.
Thanks, Chris. John Cornish averaged over 9 yards per carry last week in Moncton, and believe it or not, the Canadian running back wasn't pleased with his performance at all. He said he felt sluggish throughout the game, and when he looked back at the game film, he didn't take advantage of opportunities he normally would with the ball in his hands. Cornish said also that the natural grass slowed him down a little bit. He was excited to get back on this track here in Calgary, and he said he'd be much better. He backed up his words in the first series.
Yes, he did, Gervain, and in fact, averages over 11 yards a carry against the Roughriders. So it's back in his hands again off the left side, up to the 44-yard line. So Cornish gets 4 on that carry.
It's an outstanding average for John Cornish, and that's one of the reasons that Joffrey Reynolds is, for the 2nd week in a row, a healthy scratch. Cornish with a 7.3-yard average. Joffrey Reynolds not dressed again for this game. The team's all-time leader, the running back position.
Still looks strange just to see him on the sidelines like that. 2-time rushing champ, 6 times 1,000 yards. And in his second last start, he had 14 carries for 80 yards, but when he went 7 for 15 against BC, John Hufnagel made a change, and John Cornish now is number 1, and LaMarcus Coker is his backup. I think some were surprised with Larry Taylor back. That was the reason we were told Reynolds was out last week, because Coker can play special teams. Coker stays in, even with Taylor back. 2nd down and a conversion on the play as Robbie Bryant, who had that big game individually in Moncton with 3 touchdowns, has a 1st down catch.
Yeah, 5 catches for 75 yards. Now, a couple of those catches late in the game when Drew Tate was in, but nonetheless, Robbie Bryant with 3 touchdowns did get back on the board. Remember, this is a guy who had 15 last year. Little slant route to move the chains.
First down at the 53, and the pitch to Cornish. And another crease for John Cornish back into Rough Rider territory. It's a 1st down at the Saskatchewan 46.
You know, clearly the game plan for Calgary is just to settle things down and try and get that ball possession and maintain the ball possession. Hufnagel was critical of the loss of focus for his football team, and we've seen them show a lot more emotion outwardly. It's certainly Henry Burris throughout the last few games, and their losses, 3 of the last 4. But a solid running game and time of possession advantage can settle him down nicely.
Here's Rambo with the catch, and he gets brought down around the 36, close to another 1st down. Well, John Hufnagel preaching resilience and a test of that early after the good opening drive and the Paradise miss that results in just 1 point.
You know, and on the other side of the ball, Chris, I'm watching a Saskatchewan defense, and you know, the questions that were coming from the media last week with Ken Miller that he took offense at was that they were flat to start the game. And, I don't see a team that's playing with a lot of energy to start this game.
Stampeders march again, and the handoff, huge hole. John Cornish, 2nd level and more. Tristan Jackson trying to pull him down. But John Cornish eating up the yards in this opening quarter.
Well, the one thing that you can tell if a team is flat and not playing with great energy and great enthusiasm is tackling. And we've seen John Cornish run through a bunch of armed tackles. First of all, big hole at the line of scrimmage. Not a good sign if you're a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan. Cornish just will not go down by the 1st tackler. In fact, it's the 3rd or 4th.
So a 16-yard gain. Cornish averaging close to 14 yards already today. Coker in. Burris way back. And now throws in the flat. It's caught by Nick Lewis. And he stretches down to the 11-yard line.
Let's go back to that John Cornish run, and I just want to see again what happened at the line of scrimmage. I mean, the Saskatchewan Roughriders so far in this game are losing the battle on the line of scrimmage. You see Barron Simpson in the hole. That's the center, Tim O'Neill, who's going to lead the way for John Cornish on this previous play, and he's going to take on Barron Simpson, turn him to the inside. That opens up the hole. You've got Sumpas out leading and cutting Jarrell Freeman off. I mean, if those offensive linemen, big bodies, get on linebackers, it's going to be a long day for this defense.
O'Neill gets his job back for the injured John Gott. Larry Taylor is met at the 5-yard line. Chris McKenzie with the tackle. But it's another first down, and it's 1st and goal for Calgary.
You know, played hard last week. I mean, that was one guy in the Saskatchewan defense that was a sort of a bright spot for them. I mean, Chris McKenzie had 8 tackles against the BC Lions, and a good solid one there.
So 1st and goal. Stamps at the 6. Hand off LaMarcus Coker. Down close to the 3. Coker, who had a 47-yard touchdown run in the preseason, then his first carry in live CFL action last week's a 75-yard touchdown run, and earning very quickly the moniker Quick 6 in Calgary.
He doesn't know what just happened there. Just a couple of yards.
An injured Saskatchewan Roughrider. It's the veteran defensive tackle Dario Romero. Action continues after this game as the Ticats battle the Argos. Live coverage begins immediately following this game on TSN and TSN Mobile TV. Rod Duane double dipping today, and a must win for the Argos, trying to get back into it as Dario Romero looks like he can get some weight on that ankle that got rolled on.
Yeah, it was LaMarcus Coker. I'm going to show you his leg. You see his right leg right here, and it looked like just on that ankle as Coker was going down, he landed right on the inside or the outside of that ankle.
Well, it's been the weekend of the goal line stand so far. 10th play of the drive. 2nd and goal from the 2. John Cornish. Touchdown.
Jarrell Freeman thinks that he got him down before he crossed the plane. No hesitation from the officials. I know Jarrell Freeman stepped up and made a big hit on John Cornish, but I'm not sure his knee touched. Coming right at you, Cornish is going to cut inside, and there's the hit. If there's any question, the ball crossed the plane.
5th touchdown of the year for Cornish. Paradise adds the extra point. Just under 2.5 left to the opening quarter, and Calgary has an 8-point lead.
Now, as I watch this replay of John Cornish again going in, Jarrell Freeman may have a bit of an argument. I mean, it looks like his knee, tough to tell right there, but if his knee is touching the ground right there, that ball has not crossed the goal line just yet.
But it is hard to determine whether that knee is down or not.
No challenge, and Jarrell Freeman was pretty animated when he saw it.
A great start for Cornish. 5 carries, 61 yards, and the touchdown. Brandon West. And West plowing his way up to the 40. Good return. An impressive touchdown march for the Stampeders.
Well, this game has been all about John Cornish, though, and whether or not he's running the football, catching it out of the backfield, making people miss. I mean, he has just been the difference maker. There has been some throws mixed into these drives, but it's been a lot of Cornish early and often.
Averaging 12 yards a carry. just a little better than his career 11.3 against the Roughriders, who have to get going offensively. And Brandon West now at running back. And up close to the 44. And about 4 for Brandon West.
You know, one of the key plays in that game in the loss for Saskatchewan last week was when Mark Parento had that high snap, went over Darian Durant's head. That's another one that's kind of hot and low to his hip. And in a shotgun snap, you want to be a little bit softer on it so that the quarterback can corral that football. He doesn't have to look down too much and take his eyes off the coverage. Now, that was just a handoff, didn't really affect it. But if that's a throw, it makes it tougher on Durant.
Durant looking for his first completion. Pressure again, and he's got to throw that away to avoid the sack. Big-time heat coming from Calgary. And Charleston Hughes has had a huge first quarter.
Pressure off the edge on Darian Durant, who had no chance here. I mean, it gets there in a hurry. Charleston Hughes is going to take and get the sack, but it's from the opposite side that the pressure initially arrives. Hughes is working down at the bottom. Pressure comes from the top, and it's Brandon Smith.
I don't want to upset Ken Miller, but the Roughriders look flat. There's Milo. Line drive, and it's R.J. Franklin back there. Off the 9-game DL, and away he goes. But there is a flag. There's Milo, cuts him back, and he'll get drilled down. But there is a flag. Jason Claremont, the tackle. Flag back at the Calgary 27-yard line.
On the return, illegal block. Calgary number 48. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Justin Kahn gets called for the Calgary Stampeders and takes off that R.J. Franklin return off the board. Guy who's just returning to the lineup from injury.
Last played in week 3, was injured against Winnipeg, and just had a 50-yard return wiped out.
He will play sparingly on offense as he works his way back into that lineup, with sparing for Johnny Forzani.
Well, the Stamps close to 150 yards of offense in the opening quarter, and it's still got about 30 seconds to go. A catch for Rambo. He gets tossed back, short gain.
Ken Miller talked about it was execution last week more than this team was flat. But, you know, watch this Saskatchewan Roughrider defense sort of get back and organized in the huddle here. It seems like a team that's almost milling around. And I know it's early in this game. It's just ending the first quarter here, but it just doesn't seem to be any pop or jump in this team.
You see Dario Romero back. Rambo got 8, so 2nd and 2. And Henry Burris, quarterback option. And there's Cornish. Once again, John Cornish, the dominant player in this first quarter, that ends with another Calgary first down. 8-0 Stampeders.
Yeah, if you're Saskatchewan, you're happy that the score is what it is, because it's been dominance in the first quarter. 9 first downs, double the time of possession. John Cornish has 73 yards rushing in 1 quarter, more than the Rider offense. And, you know, I talked, Chris, about, you know, what it looks like when you're flat. There's a fine line there, because it can be false enthusiasm too, you know, when everyone's rah and all that. And that's sort of that false enthusiasm. But you can see when a team is fired up. They're congratulating everybody on a tackle. You know, you're getting up, breaking the huddle and getting you down in your stance and getting ready. And I just don't see it in Ken Miller's group.
Well, the first 2 possessions, Calgary drives the field, misses a short field goal, then drives the field and scores a touchdown. And now they have another first down, and this time Kenyon Rambo jumps the gun, and they'll have to march back 5.
And the other thing we haven't seen with the Calgary Stampeders right now is how they will face adversity.
Offside. Calgary number 85. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Maybe this will be a little bit of it. Kenyon Rambo shaking his head, but you know, that first quarter pretty much a breeze for the Calgary Stampeders. John Hufnagel hasn't seen how they will respond to his criticism of this team during the week because they haven't faced adversity yet in this game.
Rambo does have a catch today. That's the 400th of his career. It's 1st and 15. And the drop play, LaMarcus Coker and Keith Shulligan pulls him down at the 46-yard line. So 5 for Coker, and it will be 2nd and 10.
I just want to add one more thing to that intangible with Saskatchewan. There is no reason in the world that this team should be flat.
No.
This is a game they've got to have. I mean, this is a game that if they can still get the season series on Calgary by winning the next 2 against them by more than 15 points.
Well, they can get right back in the mix. They'll be 4 points out of a 3-way tie for first. 2nd and 10. But the Roughriders have a stop. There's an open man, and Johnny Forzani didn't seem to track the ball well, and it's a drop when it could have been a big play.
Oh, it was, because Forzani wide open on the outside. I mean, a ball perfectly thrown to him, too. He had got that outside seam right down the rail as he does the double move on Tristan Jackson. And look at the step. He has 3 or 4 yards on him, but just you're right, tracking the football, had some problems with it, picked it up late, and then really fought it as he went down and lost the fight. But you can't blame number 1 for that one.
So Bert Dales to launch it with the wind at his back for the first time. Tristan Jackson from his 7. And Jackson dances his way to the 19 and then gets tossed out. Tried to draw a flag, none coming.
Better and better with each year he's in the league. He's averaging 21 yards per catch this season and 8 TDs. Just monstrous numbers for Chris. And when I asked Keon Raymond about containing him, he simply said that he wasn't too worried about it, especially since the Stamps defense have contained him to just 2 catches in their previous 2 meetings. However, as we both know, CC, Getzlaf and Durant, when they're here in Calgary, it's a completely different story. They seem to break a lot of Stampeder fans' hearts.
Well, Chris Getzlaf, 7 touchdowns against Calgary in his career. Here comes the rush. Pass is complete. And the catch made by Kerry Koch.
That to the short side of the field. This time the difference for Darian Durant was the time he had to throw the football. The Calgary Stampeders went just with a 5-man rush. They had lots of protection up front. Saskatchewan did, allowed Darian Durant to drop, roll a little bit to his left, and throw backside to the short side of the field to get Kerry Koch involved.
Mentioned the Roughriders have started slow this year, but that's the first completion of the game for Darian Durant. It comes early in the 2nd quarter. Takes the Cates, dumps it off, and then Neil Hughes tripped up at the 44-yard line. Jeff Tisdale the tackle. But that's good first down production. 8 yards for the fullback out of Tom Collegiate.
It'll be interesting to see where they play Chris Getzlaf in this game. You talked, and Jermaine talked about his play of late, 726 yards, on pace for his first 1,000-yard season. And so far in this game, I've seen both Brandon Smith and Keon Raymond play against Getzlaf, depending on where he lines up.
There's Cates, and he'll have the first down up at the 47-yard line. I'd like to send out congratulations to the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Brian Tauris, who became the winningest CIS coach of all time last night. A 36-33 win for the Saskatchewan Huskies, Gene Bukowski's old school.
Great program up there at the U of S, led by Brian Tauris.
170 wins in his distinguished career. Roughriders put a couple of first downs. Look out, back-to-back, and that pass delivered high out of the reach of James Robinson.
Robinson back in the lineup. They're still trying to get some consistency in the lineup. And with the high ankle sprain for Andy Fantus, that means James Robinson and Kerry Koch get some more playing time. We'll see a little Jason Claremont as well. These are the situations so far in this game that the Calgary Stampeders have sent pressure. Charleston Hughes has been hard to handle for that Saskatchewan offensive line.
Haven't heard from Ephraim Hill yet. He had an 11-catch game the last time these two teams met. 2nd and 10. Decent protection and a catch for Getzlaf. Looks like he, well, will check the spot here close to the first down, just inside the Calgary 53.
This time I believe he's on Brandon Smith. You're going to see some great route running, and it's at the top of the route that Getzlaf makes the play. Nice move as he turns his head to the outside to just freeze Brandon Smith, and then see that extra step coming back to the football and then catching it with his hands, not letting it come to his body and try and corral it that way. That's how it can hit your shoulder pads and bounce off. Getzlaf catches it with his hands, makes a nice catch for what should be close to a first down here, just short.
Couple of chain links short. Well, he's had some huge games against Calgary, and most of the memorable ones seem to be right here at McMahon. And look at those numbers. Getzlaf had his touchdown streak snapped last week. And not much of a push on that 3rd down sneak, but they didn't need much, and it is a first down. Last 5 games for Getzlaf, he has had in each of the last 5 a pass play of at least 30 yards.
Well, and let's not forget that 2010 West Final for Chris Getzlaf. And the 109 receiving yards in a very, very cold playoff game. The Saskatchewan Roughriders won. I talked about that matchup with Darian Durant against Henry Burris as well in the playoffs. Durant has won twice in a row now, 2 years straight. But they're down 2-0 in games against Calgary this year.
First down, Durant gets it outside, and Robinson close to another first down on that out at near the Rough Rider bench.
Now, this is a small thing. That's pretty good timing from Durant, and this may be a small thing, but James Robinson's got to know where he is on the football field, and when he comes down that sideline, he needs to lower his shoulder and go ahead and get that first down, not make it close.
It will be 2nd and a yard, and let's see how the Rough Riders handle this. They go 2 back. First man through is Neil Hughes. Look at the first down. Holding on was Charleston Hughes on Neil Hughes.
Looks like the Saskatchewan offense just starting to wake up a little bit here. A couple good throws, and I think the big difference and the reason on this drive, Durant's 4 of 5, is his protection up front. And in the break, we watched Ken Miller walk up and down the bench talking to his offensive line, and I'm not sure what the message was, but it sounds like they heard it.
First down, Wes Cates. Not much there. A good surge up front again from Hughes, and he's really been a handful in this first half.
Tough assignment here for Gene Mikowski, who we just talked about, who's got to pull and then come over here and pick up this man, Charleston Hughes, coming off the edge. He's the guy that turns the play inside, and he just sort of misses him as he tries to get a piece of him coming around. Charleston Hughes gets first contact.
So no gain, 2nd and 10. Quick pressure, and the ball caught by Koch. Short gain, if any, and it will be 3rd down. And the field goal unit will come on for the Rough Riders.
You know, this is going to be an adjustment for Saskatchewan at halftime, and Ken Miller's got to figure out when the Calgary Stampeders send the blitz from the secondary, and it's been Brandon Smith a couple of times. How are they going to handle that? If you're sending blitz from the secondary, there's got to be an open area on the field. Usually it's in the middle, as the safety has to adjust for the blitzing defensive back.
Well, this is going to be a test for Milo. He has not tried a field goal outside 40 this year. Into a breeze from 43 out. And Milo's got it. He seems to be getting better by the week. And the Rough Riders are on the board.
Shop at Safeway to play Safeway Million.
Now, a little bit better drive from Saskatchewan there. It's a positive sign for Rider fans.
8 plays, 53 yards. They had the ball for 5:11. They only had the ball for 5 minutes and 10 seconds. in the first half. That ball will go out and give Calgary great field position. Up at the 45.
Ball will be spotted at the 45-yard line. First down.
So a 5-point Calgary lead after a lopsided statistical first quarter of play.
Well, big time. I mean, that's where you have to think that Saskatchewan's real happy with the score right now. The way they played in the first quarter, a better drive to start the second quarter offensively, and they got the 2-and-out defensively to start the second quarter. That's pretty good completion percentage, though, for Henry Burris.
255 and 298 his passing totals against Saskatchewan this year. John Cornish gets tripped up at the 50-yard line by Jarrell Freeman, number 2 in the league in tackles, coming in with 70, and he missed the first week of the season with an injury. Cornish thought he had a lot more there. Caught from behind, and the shoe pulled off.
He's got to change his tire there, but just let me show you Jarrell Freeman and the troubles he's having on the run because of penetration. Just go ahead and stop it right there, guys. You stop it there. You see how much he's got to bubble? Because look at the Calgary offensive line. They're down the field. We're talking 3-4 yards. That makes the linebacker Jarrell Freeman bubble outside. That gives Cornish that extra space. Made a shoestringer there, but that could have been a bigger gain.
Cornish to the sidelines to get to shoot. Look out. Big hit provided there by Kai Stewart, breaking up the play intended for Nick Lewis. And suddenly the Saskatchewan defense digs in.
You know, Henry Burris on this throw, it was almost like he was trying to take a little bit off it because it was just that quick crosser, really the check down man for Henry Burris, but he just relaxes a little bit and he kind of leaves Nick Lewis hanging there.
So Burke Dales, that's off the side of his foot. Not a good kick for Dales, but he gets a good bounce. And the Roughriders hope that will go into the end zone, and it does. And no yards, so they'll confer on their options. And we'll tell you if it's 9-3 or 8-3 when we come back.
John Huffnagel not happy with that last series offensively for Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders, and that last throw to Nick Lewis. And you know, this is a quarterback that's been pulled twice now in back-to-back weeks, and you can see how angry his coach is at that throw to Nick Lewis. And you know, we've talked about the end of last game out in Moncton, whether or not it changes the dynamic on that sideline for Calgary, and whether or not we see Drew Tate maybe for a series or two.
It is 9-3. The Roughriders elect to decline the no yards and take the football at the 35-yard line. 4 receivers wide side with Wes Cates in the block. And time for Durant downfield. Getzlaff got it. Another big play. That's 6 straight games where Chris Getzlaff has a catch of 30+. That's 35 against Keon Raymond.
And he's catching them in the tough area. He's catching them down the middle, and that's the tough area to go after the football. You know you're going to take a hit. There's a good chance there's a safety hanging back there, but it hasn't seemed to bother Chris Getzlaff as he goes up and gets that again with his hands first.
More yards on that play than in his first 2 meetings against Calgary this year. 2 for 24 coming in. They're now inside for Cates. 5 to the 35.
I know that sounds obvious that a receiver would catch it with his hands, but how many times have we seen receivers go up and try and catch it against their body? But Chris Getzlaff's been great at that fundamental. He reaches out, and what it does is separates yourself from the defender. Brandon Smith was right on his shoulder on that deep one, and watch him just reach out and stab it. If he waits for that to come in, Brandon Smith may get there.
Closing in on his first 1,000-yard season. 2nd and 5. Durant on a roll. Junior Turner on the pursuit, and a big hit. Brandon Smith on Darian Durant, who gets to the 30 and will be close to a first down. And How many hits can a quarterback take like that? He has tender ribs after getting hit by Ichiro Quali a couple of weeks ago.
Well, we'll see if it inspires his team, because he could have given up a couple of yards there and gone out of bounds. Elected not to, and you could see that coming because there was nothing but red jerseys coming after him. There was about 4. Brandon Smith led the charge.
And Junior Turner with great pursuit, the defensive end. It's 3rd and short. Neil Hughes will have the first down for the Roughriders.
And with Darian Durant, a quarterback that has led his team to the Grey Cup championship in both years as a starter. Didn't win those games, but got them there. And understands that plays like that can be positive plays. Even though he takes a hit, he decided not to go out of bounds, took the hit to get a yard or 2. We'll see if it inspires his teammates.
Ninth start for Durant against Calgary. He's averaged 353 yards passing a game. He's got an open man into the end zone, and it's incomplete. Getzlaff was open for a split second, but Brandon Isaac breaks it up.
Chris, good point. The split second. And Darian Durant loses the split second on the snap that's high. Again, in the shotgun. I mean, here's the corner route. If Durant gets this football clean, and I'm not trying to pick on center Mark Parento here, but if he gets that ball clean, he's got time to spot that and throw it a split second, as you mentioned earlier. Watch the snap, though. High, and it takes his eyes off the coverage and off his timing a little bit.
2nd and 10. Pressure. Charleston Hughes, the ball pops loose, and Darren Stone's got it. And the Stampeders create a turnover. And Durant a little slow to get up. Not sure which truck hit him. License plate number 39, Darian.
Talk about a guy with some pop in his step. Boy, he's playing a game right now. Charleston Hughes, who has moved around. He's coming off again on Dan Goodspeed. 2nd time in a row that he's come around the horn on the veteran tackle.
Stampeders last in takeaways, and that was one of the issues John Hufnagel addressed this week. A forced fumble for Hughes, a recovery for Stone. Back into the hands of Henry Burris. Dumping it off to Nick Lewis. And a first down for the Stamps as Lewis takes it over midfield with the 3-minute warning at McMahon. 2:49 left, first half, and then it's GMC Live at the half. Is it Black and Ford? Or is it Randorf, Climby, Stiegel, and Schultz?
No, Black and Ford did so well. You could see those guys hustling into the studio.
Well, they're booth guys.
Yeah.
A lot of hustle there.
Yeah. They wanted to get their chairs back.
Yeah, the marquee guys just kind of sauntered in. We'll see what they think of this first half. Big to Cornish, Jabari Arthur, did he hang on? Well, a little bobble, but he did reel it in. Close to another Calgary first down.
Well, he fought it, but the official was right on the spot, had the best view of it.
Close enough for a measurement.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
Yep. And that far away from a first down.
Early success to John Cornish in the run game. Helped to get Jabari Arthur open on that play, fought the football, but made the nice catch, and now in that waist down territory for Calgary.
Arthur with his first CFL touchdown against the Roughriders back in August. Drew Tate, the short yardage team, comes on. You can see how this game has turned a little bit in the second quarter as Drew Tate plunges ahead for the first down. And back out comes Burris along with Forzani and Rambo.
You know, when we saw John Hufnagel angry with Henry Burris after that throw to Nick Lewis where he got hit, I wasn't suggesting that it was time to pull Henry Burris, and I don't think Hufnagel was even considering it. He just wants to keep him on his edge because this has been the part of the game that Henry Burris has lost his focus a little bit the last couple of weeks.
John Cornish, big seam, right side, first down. Another one for Cornish to the Rough Rider 26-yard line. He rips off 16 more as that average continues to be well into double digits.
Well, let's take a look at some pretty good blocks here on the right side of the offensive line. Stanley Bryant, Dimitri Sumpas as they get up. Big body on a linebacker, and 6'7" up on the top on Barron Simpson is just a battle that Barron Simpson is going to be at the disadvantage every single time. Sumpas at 315, you get on a linebacker like that, it's game over.
Now Burris got away from Tay George. Downfield, Arthurs got it at the 2. And Barron Simpson in a little skirmish without his helmet. Well away from the play.
Little pep talk from John Hufnagel seems to have helped Henry Burris bouncing around. He got some more time in that pocket by moving his legs, getting outside, and, you know, talking to Dave Dickinson early in the season, he said the importance of Jabari Arthur in this offense is something that's not talked about enough. He felt that this is a key guy for them, and he hasn't been in the lineup the last 2 weeks in their losses.
Tate comes back in, short yardage. First and goal from the 2. And Drew Tate's got a touchdown. So Calgary with the takeaway, and they get 7 off the turnover. Or 6, and the convert to come.
Line of scrimmage has been won in this game so far by the Calgary Stampeders, both sides of the ball. Whether they're on offense or defense, they have won the line of scrimmage.
In the last 4 games, Calgary had only 2 takeaways and no points off turnovers. They get a big fumble recovery here and have 7 off that Saskatchewan turnover. It's a 16-3 lead with 1:34 to go in the opening half.
Hey, great job, man. Happy got an end zone. I thought you were going to score that play. Hey, yeah, you did.
Well, let's take a look at that line of scrimmage. Here it is. There's the battle line that you draw right there. And if the white shirts push them back, they win that battle. If they don't, I can stop it there. Look at the bubble that's created. Red shirts in the end zone right here. It's a pretty simple game. Who wants it more down there on the goal line? Mike McCullough really the only guy who's hustling to the spot, and he had to go around the mass of Calgary blockers.
So it looked like things were starting to get on track for the Rough Riders. 9-3, and they marched into scoring position. A close call, near touchdown for Getzlaff. Then the fumble, and suddenly it's a 13-point deficit for Ken Miller and Darian Durant.
And they did start to get some things going offensively, and then they're just the breakdown in protection a couple of times has cost them.
3rd touchdown of the year for Drew Tate. There's West. Just across the 25. So under a minute and a half left for the Rough Riders to close the gap.
Right now, the Saskatchewan Roughriders can't handle Charleston Hughes, and it's been a couple of times against Dan Goodspeed. This is just man on man, and that's once around the edge. This time it's against Alex Gauthier. But the forced fumble that turned into a touchdown was once again Dan Goodspeed. So the tackle's having problems right now with Charleston Hughes.
It's an offside on the Calgary kickoff, so they're going to do it again. I have a feeling that if Charleston Hughes was playing on a Friday night, he might be wearing a new watch.
Yeah, he'd be a front runner right now without question. Travis Lulay, our gladiator last night. Congratulations to the Lions. Big win for them as they open up BC Place Stadium, which was absolutely spectacular last night.
I think the guy that opened the roof was a runner-up, wasn't he? So back at the 30, Brandon West is ready to reload. And Anwar Stewart, also a gladiator last night. So defensive end did get a watch this week. And a return all the way up across the 40 to the 44-yard line. So 80 seconds to work with for Darian Durant, trying to bounce back off that turnover on the last series.
You know, when watching this first half, the Calgary Stampeders aren't sending a whole lot of full-out blitz. In other words, it's not a situation where Darian Durant has got to read the free guy and throw it before he gets there. It's really just 5-man or 4-man pressure from Chris Jones. So that's up to the guys up front and Wes Cates to pick up that pressure. They just haven't played well enough to do it yet.
Last week, 6 turnovers, 18 points off the turnovers by Saskatchewan. And there's Wes Cates with a catch. And Keats close to a first down and near midfield. Eric Fraser in on the tackle.
That time just 3-man pressure from Calgary. So Durant throws it underneath all of those dropping linebackers, defensive backs. But really, it's just come down to one-on-ones, tackles against Charleston Hughes, and so far 3-0 Charleston Hughes is at my count. I think he agrees with the count. He just
he's just saying, where's the watch? Well, he has feasted off the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yes, he has.
That's 5 of his 7 sacks on the year against the green and white.
And again, I love mentioning this. I often do with starters, whether offensive or defensive starters. He has 5 special teams tackles too. And I just think it's outstanding when you get a guy who's athletic like that, can cover kicks. He's having himself a great first half.
Second and short. Roughriders going to look for something big and then dump it off. It's a first down, and Keats will get out at the Calgary 47.
John Hines, our producer in the truck, reminded me that Charleston Hughes has 7 of the Calgary Stampeders' 17 sacks. So when he's been out of the lineup, they have really missed that pressure defensively, something that was a concern for Huffman.
Well, the Roughriders here trying to put a different look on this first half before it wraps up. Short drop, Durant again underneath, and Keats pushed back as he got forward progress close to the 42, which would be about 5 yards.
I think that was the conversation you saw Darian Durant having with Ken Miller just before this drive. He was saying, look, let's run the offense because a field goal is not bad here. Just get a little bit of positive momentum going in at halftime, and you've got to believe that offensive staff will make the adjustments necessary.
Wondering when we get to call Weston Dressler's name. They go the other way. There's a first down catch. Getzlaff's got another inside the 30, so they get field goal range now.
Field goal range with plenty of time to still work the ball. I mean, you got 5-6 more plays if you're efficient with the clock.
Getzlaff's third catch. He has 58 yards in this opening half. Ephraim Hill and Weston Dressler have been silent. Hill in the block here, helping out against Hughes. And Karen Cope pulled it down and then gets drilled by Keon Raymond. It's a short gain to the 23. I'll give him 5 hard-earned yards after that hit by Keon Raymond.
That's what happens when your tackles are struggling a little bit on one player in Charleston Hughes. What you do is you bring in help. Bring in help with the tacklers. And you mentioned it, Chris. It's Ephraim Hill. The receiver is now double teaming on 3-9.
Oh, look out! The bobble snap, picked up, and away goes Charleston Hughes, and watch him run. This fumble recovery goes the distance, 66 yards. What a remarkable first half for Hughes, and disaster for the Roughriders.
And those same problems for Mark Parento just keep rearing their ugly head. Another hot snap. Now, Durant did have his hands on it, but that shotgun snap has got to come back nice and soft, right in the middle of the quarterback's chest. And we've seen a couple of low ones, a couple of high hot ones. That one up there again, he bobbles it a little bit. You know, and you can put part of that one on Durant because he did have his hands on it, but again, high and up to around his face mask. And a good bounce for a guy who's put together an all-star first half.
Good to be lucky, but lucky to be good. And he got the good bounce, but if anybody deserved one in this first half, it's number 39, who's putting on a defensive clinic. And pretty good offense, too.
You know what? No question, Chris, and I don't mean to suggest that Charleston Hughes was lucky on this play, because you know when you're making fumble recoveries, it's because you're hustling, it's because you're around the football, because you're making plays, you're playing with that great enthusiasm, you're getting to the ball. And when it came out that time, guess who was right there? The guy who's been in that backfield for this entire first half.
On the last meeting, it was a 117-yard interception return that was a turning point for Keon Raymond against Durant and the Roughriders.
My bad.
Last week there was an 81-yard defensive touchdown by Ryan Phillips, and
That's how you move.
now Charleston Hughes has one against Saskatchewan.
I look like John Cornish right there, baby. That's who I look like. You give me the rock, anywhere on the field, I'm housing it.
Give me the rock anywhere on the field, I'm housing it. And I know the house, take it to the house is the end zone, but that's a new way of saying it. I'm housing it.
Claremont on that return, 2 seconds left in the half, and twice Saskatchewan's had the ball in scoring range here in the second quarter and have turned it over, and Calgary's put 14 points off those two turnovers.
You just wonder now about the confidence that Darian Durant, or the lack of it, for between he and his center. I mean, this is a problem now that's extended into 2 straight games. You know, it's interesting, though, when they talked about at the end of last week's game and the poor snap that was high, they said, you know, it's only happened a couple times all year, but it seems to happen, it's a little less accurate.
Well, they were awful in the first quarter and close. They got better in the second quarter, but 2 costly mistakes. It's a 20-point Calgary lead.
Coach, is there an update on Freeman? How is he, and will he be back for the second half?
Well, I don't think he'll be back for the second half. I think he's at the hospital getting stitches right now.
Can you talk about what you need out of this team to, I guess, regain its composure and perhaps stop the pressure on the quarterback that's happening?
Well, the thing we have to do is we just have to do a good job with our front 5. You know, we got beat off the ball a few times, and then we had that untimely, you know, bobbled snap that went for a touchdown. On defense, we have to just sprint, play with great passion, and tackle. We have to get that job done, and then we have to finish drives on offense.
Thanks for this, Coach Miller.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at what happened to Jarrell Freeman late in the first half. A tackle against John Cornish, and remember we mentioned Cornish lost his shoe, and Freeman takes that one right on the jaw.
And clearly from his head coach in the hospital getting stitches, a deep cut. You may see a lot more of Mike McCullough, backup linebacker, in for Jarrell Freeman, so that hill gets a little steeper for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Milo kicks it off. And it's Larry Taylor for the Stampeders. And he lost his footing close to the 30-yard line. That's where the Stamps will go to work. And here they are with a 20-point lead. Let's check the numbers of the quarterbacks in that first half.
Well, the first quarter was dominated by the Calgary Stampeders, and that's where a lot of that yardage was racked up for Henry Burris, but 11 of 15.
So that looks even.
Yeah, it looks even. And then you look at the starting receiving core for the Calgary Stampeders with their 20-point lead. Nick Lewis just 2 catches for 9 yards. Rambo just 3 for 24, and Bryant 1 for 8.
Henry takes off and takes a hit. Good tackle by Kai Stewart, who's moved into that spot for Jarrell Freeman. And a clean shot on the quarterback as Burris gets a couple.
Henry Burris in the quarterback draw. This is how Darren Durant started the game. These are the 2 leading quarterbacks in the league when it comes to rushing the football. He actually tied coming in, but really Burris had no place to go, and Kai Stewart just stepped into him.
2nd and 8. Butler showing safety blitz, but now backs off. Over the middle, there's Lewis with a catch. And Nick Lewis will have a first down up across the 42.
Just his 3rd catch of the game. And he was kind of took the big hit from Stewart in the first half. And it's LaMarcus Coker gets the start, a tailback to start this second half. So John Cornish, who was dominant in the first half, doesn't get the first series offensively.
Lewis with a 2nd down conversion catch. He's 3rd in the league in that department. And it's a first down for the Stamps. Here's R.J. Franklin on the flanker sweep. And he gets cut down at the 49-yard line as Chris McKenzie makes the tackle.
Now, when we talked about those receivers' numbers, you know, like they're going to be low when you're running the ball successfully. I mean, why change it? And Dave Dickinson is looking at this, whether it be R.J. Franklin around the corner or if it's LaMarcus Coker or John Cornish. If it's working along the ground, he's going to keep it on the ground. A team that coming into this game, even though some had criticized their lack of a running game, ranked 2nd in the league running the football.
2nd in passing, 2nd in rushing, 2nd in yards this season. There's Lewis. John Lucas will wrestle him out, but there's Nick Lewis moving the chains once again on a 2nd down catch. And remember, for 2 straight weeks, he did not get thrown at in the second half, complained about it, then apologized because he complained about it. Last week, 8 catches in Moncton, and he's been a target twice here in the second half already.
11 passes in his direction in Moncton, dropped the first one, which was interesting when he had complained during the week and then had to apologize. But
Coker, nice run by Coker, and it's another first down at the Roughrider 45.
Well, you can't emphasize enough. It really simplifies things when you look at the front 5. Ken Miller talked about his front 5. They've got to play better. Calgary Stampeders are just controlling it up front. I mean, there is just no penetration. It doesn't matter who's running the football behind this offensive line right now. They're winning that line of scrimmage. No contact made on a running back until you get back into that linebacking court and sometimes the secondary.
They mark him just short of the 45, so call it 2nd and inches. And Burris going to take a free shot. And it's incomplete. Intended for Rambo. And Chris McKenzie on the scene.
Not a bad idea. Surprised I don't see it more often. They put Drew Tate in here on short yardage and go and try to get the first down here, knowing that they basically within a yard.
Cornish behind Tate. The Tate plunging ahead. He did break the plane of the 45, which is, I think, all he needed. Kai Stewart having some words there with Tim St. Pierre, who lost his lid on the play. It is a Calgary first down.
A little bit more resistant resistance provided by that front four of the Saskatchewan Roughriders on that short yardage play. LaMarcus Coker comes back into the game at tailback.
And it's Coker again. Look at that cutback. He's got wheels, doesn't he? All the way down inside the 20 before Sean Lucas drops him. LaMarcus Coker, and what a 1-2 rushing punch Calgary's displayed today.
Little misdirection up front this time with Demetrius Sumpas, who's going to pull in the opposite direction of the play. He's going to actually come out, and if a linebacker sees that, they usually react to a pulling guard like that. The play is actually going in the opposite direction. So Sumpas pulls out the opposite way. That confuses the linebackers. They react to it, and that opens up the play side for Coker.
33-yard dash. The out, a bullet to Bryant. Complete down to about the 7-yard line for Romby Bryant.
You know, for run defense, and you know, it's pretty simple that the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and I'm not trying to point out two guys in particular, but you got to be strong in the middle. You got to have that triangle between your two interior D linemen that get penetration, that pull the linemen to them, and then your middle linebacker. And Keith Shulgan, Dario Romero, they're working, and you can tell that you can see how hard that Dario Romero's breathing, but he's just not getting that penetration necessary to just disrupt these running plays. So the linebackers get caught, don't get much help, and Keith Shulgan's playing off and on. He's just coming off injury as well.
Second and about 1.5 yards. Randy Chevrier scrambling in there at tight end. Yeah, this time it's Burris. Usually we see Drew Tate in these short yardage situations.
Well above their average. And that was an average, like we mentioned, ranked second in the league. So if you ask John Huffnagel about his running game, he'll say just fine, thank you.
Chains come out for the measurement.
But Chris Schultz talked about it, and it's interesting in where this leaves Joffrey Reynolds and this football team, because with the play of John Cornish, the potential of LaMarcus Coker, where does that leave the franchise player? Mid-October is the trade deadline, and is that a possibility for the Calgary Stampeders with Joffrey Reynolds?
I never would have thought so a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
but
me neither.
Third down, and Drew Tate in for the short yardage to get it, and back in will come Henry Burris with some instructions from Dave Dickinson. First and goal, Calgary.
I just watched the substitutions. R.J. Franklin and Kenyon Rambo come in as, to make a hockey analogy, and I don't make many of them, but to make it, it's like when you get on a power play and you see the whole bench wants to jump over the bench because you're on a power play and it's a chance to get that goal. I just watched the substitutions. The receivers couldn't get out there fast enough.
Well, they've taken over 6.5 minutes off the clock. Coker cutting back again, but Barry Simpson stuck with him. And Coker dropped at the 5, has one.
It's been a tough game for Barron Simpson, but that's the play that, you know, we're used to seeing, watching him throughout his career, whether he's a BC Lion, Winnipeg Blue Bomber, Saskatchewan Roughrider. Just great speed. He lines up in the gap between Stanley Bryant and Demetrius Sumpas, and then he just flows to the football, cuts through it. That's just playing by instincts and not waiting and hesitating. He's been having some problems trying to work through some guards blocking him, which is not necessarily his fault, but good play there from Barron Simpson.
Second and goal from the 5. Lewis in motion. Into the end zone. It's a touchdown. Romby Bryant. And a little tennis in the end zone as he celebrates his 4th touchdown in 2 games.
You must have talked to him, because for you to know what they were doing in the end zone, you had to get some inside information there. But couple of choices here for Henry Burris. He had Nick Lewis wide open right near the sideline, froze the football there, held on to it for a second, went backside on the crosser to Romby Bryant.
There's the serve. Is that what it was? Extra points good. And it's 30-3 Stampeders. Pretty good tennis player too.
Was that an ace? Was that what that was?
Barry Coates back to return a kickoff. And he barely gets across the 20. Buried on the play. Rough Rider football when we come back. Boy, that defense is fired up.
Wow.
You don't have to look at the scoreboard to see who's winning this game. Aaron Graham long out. Robinson's got it, and Greg Fassett spins him around and tosses him out. Impressive drive. It was 9 plays, 80 yards, 7 minutes, 47 seconds off the clock.
The word on this drive, execution. Just great blocks at the point of attack. Very little resistance from the Saskatchewan defense. That was basically a flyby by Chris McKenzie on a tackle attempt. And as I mentioned, very little resistance from Saskatchewan on a well-executed drive.
Flag down.
But you touched on it, Chris. It's amazing to me watching these two teams in the break, the different sidelines and just the demeanor. I mean, they're just a team that is down and out, and it has been really all game. It just, in a game that they really had to have, you just didn't see any of that bounce or excitement. And you know, and I said in the break,
Saskatchewan number 68. That penalty's declined. They're down.
There is a fine line between the fake enthusiasm and when it's real, but you can just watch this Calgary team. They hustle off and on the field. They're trying to get the fans going. They're jumping up and down. There's the star of the game defensively. Can't be stopped. And on the other sideline, the other bench is just kind of like standing around watching.
And you wonder what happened, because those back-to-back games against Winnipeg, they look like Calgary does today.
Absolutely.
Short kick into the wind. The 5-yard, no yards. Won't matter because the return by R.J. Franklin's down to the Saskatchewan 46. Well, you never know that coach is up by 27. But if you watch his players on the sideline, you can tell.
Well, you know, and you have to know the personality of your team as a head coach, and John Huffnagel certainly does. That's why he didn't have a problem calling his team out after a poor performance in Moncton and losing back-to-back games, one being here at home against the BC Lions. And when he lost back-to-back, he wasn't holding any punches back. Said his team didn't face adversity well, weren't bouncing back properly, and they have responded here this afternoon.
It's a team that has not played well at home either. 2-4 on the year. This is their most impressive home performance. Looked like the Riders jumped wide open. Nick Lewis, and he can't bring it in. Wonder if Jock Climie might add that to his tape.
I just think Jock Climie was being negative. But corner route here, and you know, Nick Lewis hustled. I mean, he tried to get to that ball, just missed.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 93. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
And he was there. And you know what? This score would be a lot worse if not for a couple of these. I mean, you saw the one that they did point out on the panel at halftime when Larry Taylor tried to throw it to Kenyon Rambo, and maybe he did let up on that pass a little bit, but I mean Rambo, not Lewis. But they've had a chance for a couple more big plays, may have turned into even more points.
Pitch to Cornish, and he gets upended by Gene Patrick.
You know, that's a big hit by James Patrick, and that's what I mean. You know, you watch the Saskatchewan Roughriders go back to the huddle now here. Has anyone walked over to Patrick and even said, you know, nice play? I mean, there's still football to be played here, and I don't want to harp on this, but that's a big play by an undersized linebacker, and I didn't see one teammate get excited about it. You know, it's an important part, enthusiasm and energy.
Second and a couple, and Cornish is going to get that down to the 35. He set the tone early, but if you're joining us late, a couple of Rough Rider turnovers, 2 fumbles in Calgary territory, 1 return for a touchdown by Charleston Hughes, the other, the Stampeders drove for a touchdown, so 14 points off those fumbles. Ken Miller on the phone, and John Cornish has hit the 100-yard mark on the day. 10 for 100 and a little bit more. Maybe a lot more. Definitely a lot more. To the pylon. Touchdown.
Well, his quarterback went over to the official and tried to help him with the call. But what an effort, and again, I don't want to take anything away from what John Cornish is doing here tonight, but he is dominant. I mean, this has been 2 players for Calgary that the Riders just cannot handle. Number 9 on offense, and on defense, number 39.
A 35-yard touchdown dash, averaging over 12 yards a run, and a pair of Cornish touchdowns.
Nice cutback here by John Cornish. He's going to get Tay George up the field. Kai Stewart's going to overrun the play. Watch the hole that's created because of it, as John Cornish takes this ball to his right. Then he cuts back there. Kai Stewart's gone. He has to make a move on the official, the umpire out there. Kenyon Rambo kind of provided a little bit of blocking downfield, and then good speed to the outside for Cornish. There's Henry Burris, the quarterback, helping out on the call.
Tristan Jackson will take a turn on the kick return. He's got something across midfield, and Tristan Jackson into Calgary territory to the 46-yard line.
That's what I'm talking about. That's how we roll them.
59-yard return for Tristan Jackson.
So John Cornish scores a touchdown. And head coach John Huffnagel is still managing his sideline with an edge.
Darian Durant stays in, looking for Ephraim Hill out of his reach, and that'll be flags flying as Keon Raymond took a free shot. And that will be 15 yards.
Yeah, and he took a couple of extra steps. Keon Raymond knows it. He's gonna argue, but no question here. Not only that, but it looked like Ephraim Hill was real close to that sideline, but you could tell Keon Raymond had time to pull up on this hit. There was no chance of Hill catching it.
Unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 25. 15-yard penalty. First down.
And no question this is the right call. I mean, Ephraim Hill's running. You watch, the ball is gone over his head. Takes a couple more strides. Keon Raymond could have pulled up. They were out of bounds at the time. And he elected to follow through with a hard hit. That's going to be called. And maybe that's why John Huffnagel has that edge, even though he has a 34-point lead.
First down at the 31. Weston Dressler still looking for his first catch of the day. It'll be 2nd and 10.
That's a good point. You know, it's just a guy that has got to be a bigger part of the offense. And you know, the Saskatchewan offense of the last couple of years would feature Weston Dressler. You know, you have play packages where they were getting the ball on hit screens and crossers and, you know, different ways to feed him the football. I mean, his numbers are good, but in a game that the Riders absolutely had to have, he's been invisible.
7th in the league in receiving, but he hasn't had a 100-yard game since July 30th. Going to that side, pulled down by Koch, but Out of bounds, incomplete, and it will be 3rd down. And you expect the offense to stay on the field.
Yeah, no question now. I mean, you've got a 3-down football.
Third and 10. Here comes the heat. Morley doesn't get him. And Durant will take off. And Durant has the first down. A first down scramble after Demetrius Morley on the safety blitz. Came up empty.
Well, you know you're struggling with your front 5, your offensive line, when, as Ken Miller said at the half, they've got to play better. Go ahead and start this and run it. You can see Hughes on the outside. Okay, hold it there. You've got 1, 2, and a third over here rushing the quarterback, and one is completely clean. I mean, that's 3 against 5.
You know, it's surprising. It's a veteran offensive line. They haven't made any changes this year. One of only 2 teams to be set. Here comes Hughes again. He may have been offside. Durant, a throwback, and then from Hill. Brought down by Malik Jackson. Was Charleston Hughes ahead of the snap.
Defensive Player of the Week candidate, I would guess. We still have 1 game to play today.
It has been
Offside. Calgary number 39. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
It's been an overpowering performance. Draws a flag here, and it's 1st and 5. Couple sacks. And a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And plenty of heat all day. Cascades down inside the 10. That's a Rough Rider first down.
You know, and a good tackle on that play. Again, Charleston Hughes plays this one, and he doesn't just abandon the run game. He goes up the field. He reads it, eyes and focus at the line of scrimmage. And just watch this. Watch him play, and this has been a clinic for defensive end play as he doesn't run past him. You know, you could have easily just gone up and expected his linebackers to make the play. He took a step up, took on Dan Goodspeed, cut underneath, and was the first guy to make the tackle on Cates.
Deepest penetration of the game for the Rough Riders. Inside Dressler, and he is punished. They're ruling incomplete. Demetrius Morley unloading on Weston Dressler. And it looks like Morley is going to get the worst of this.
Demetrius Morley reads it quickly, and Dressler brings it too far inside. And those two combine for one of the big hits of this game.
Well, you wonder about the severity of that. The man who had been backing up Demetrius Morley was traded after the touchdown Atlantic. Looks like he's okay. As Calgary sent Bill Collins to the Hamilton Tiger Cats after last week's game. So it'll be 2nd and 10.
Looks like he'll be okay.
Trouble again, and down he goes. Justin Phillips had some heat on the quarterback. Brian Bulkey was there. In fact, 3 Canadian defensive linemen on the field for Calgary, with Junior Turner as well, and they get to the quarterback.
Yeah, Darian Durant wanted to go to Weston Dressler, who's once again working on Brandon Smith. And, you know, if there's a guy whose numbers may not indicate that he's an all-star, he certainly, if you ask anyone in the league, any one of the receivers, they would tell you that Brandon Smith deserves the nod. delayed pressure in there from Justin Phillips. With great coverage by Brandon Smith on Dressler.
Third down again, final play, third quarter, third and goal. Into the end zone for Ephraim Hill. Incomplete. And a turnover on downs. And for the third time in the game, the Roughriders turn it over in the score zone. Lopsided as they may be.
Yeah, lopsided numbers, and there are times when a team can say there were the two key turnovers in a game that changed it, and certainly there were a couple in this game that turned the score into what it is. But this has been two different teams. I mean, the Calgary Stampeders were here to compete, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders just weren't.
What a turnaround. 55 points allowed last week, and here they are with just 3 points against today.
Amazing, and it's a great comeback by this Calgary defense, because that 55 points they allowed was the second worst in the team's history. Dating back to 1990 was their worst against Toronto, a 70-18 loss. So they bounced back from that. And Henry Burris, remember when he got that talking to on the sideline in the second quarter from John Huffnagel, has come back hard too, and we're going to see Drew Tate.
So Tate gets the fourth quarter. Swings it out. Nick Lewis. Head of steam. Greg Butler meets him, and he's brought down at the 40. Another first down catch for Nick Lewis. Roughriders are going to be 0-6 against the West this year.
Well, and now you're really in a position, I think, as an organization in Saskatchewan, to actually really start making some hard decisions on personnel. I mean, this is a game that, Ken Miller's got to look back and see who was competing and who wasn't. And the game film never lies in that respect.
We'll get it to Bryant. Pulled down by Nick Graham at the 36-yard line.
I'm almost reluctant to put too much emphasis on the poor play by Saskatchewan, because John Cornish has had an excellent football game, and you heard Chris Schultz talk about it at halftime, that this guy is the future at that running back position. I'm not saying that Josh Reynolds is completely done yet, but John Cornish played tremendous. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, however, on defense had chances to tackle him. I mean, he was breaking arm tackles, and tackling is the one thing that really can be a great indicator as to whether or not your team's ready to go out and really battle.
Here's Cornish again on 2nd and 3. Well, there's Alex Smith sending in the signals, and I know it's been a tough day, but maybe a lighter moment here. Here are the signals from the sidelines. Okay.
I don't even want to try and interpret what that was.
Jeans come out for the measurement. It was a critical game for both teams.
It almost looked, Chris, to me like he was going, I don't want to watch. I'm closing my eyes. Please,
maybe out of one eye.
Please, please, someone make a tackle.
There we go.
Oh. You know what? And I know, you know what? I know Rider Nation is not having fun with this, but I just, that says it all right there. That expression. It's been a tough day at the office.
Third down, early movement, and the flags do fly.
No, but let's take a look at this team defensively. I mean, and this is what they have now, 5 games to start to think about. I mean, personnel-wise, when you look on the defensive line, who's your dominant pass rusher if you're Ken Miller?
Offside. Saskatchewan number 93. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, that's been an issue since John Chick left.
No question. And it was an issue coming into the season. It was a huge concern for this team. And you can say that Tate George has played well consistently. You got a couple of tough guys in the middle. They're just, but if you got, where's your Charleston Hughes or your one of the premier? I mean, an Odell Willis is the extreme, but if you were going to try and pick your all-star pass rusher, I'm not sure this team has one. And as great of as a career that Barron Simpson has had at middle linebacker, it's his 34th birthday today.
Not much to celebrate today. First down, Coker into the teeth of that defensive line.
You know, and I have a great amount of respect for Barron Simpson, and he's had a great career, but this team's got his schedule that doesn't get any easier. And, you know, had a chance coming in here against this team to, if they could win both against Calgary and do it by 15 points, they could win the season series. They could still have a chance to win it against Edmonton. So it's not completely over, but boy, Ken Miller's got to find out why this team didn't show up and came to compete at a higher level.
Good catch for Nick Lowe as well. A win today would have got them within 4 of Edmonton with the game at Commonwealth next week, and then you can have designs on a playoff spot, but they're going to stay 6 back. And people wondering when the next win's on the board for Saskatchewan with the way they've played the last 2 weeks. Stampeders taking full advantage of the opportunity to take first place back in the West. John Cornish just doesn't want to be tackled today. Another first down run inside the 40-yard line. We checked the books, and we believe it's the first career 100-yard game. Did not have one last year when he had over 600 yards rushing. The other 2 years for John, doesn't look like he would have had a 100-yard game.
Chance for a tackle there, gone. Missed tackle there, just kind of fell off of 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. Up to 149 yards on 13 carries.
And his career average just continues to go up.
Fake to Coker. And a bullet into Kenyon Rambo at the 33-yard line.
You know, it's really been 2 players for the Calgary Stampeders that the Saskatchewan Roughriders just couldn't handle. Defensively, they couldn't stop John Cornish. And he started early, and it was often, and it was breaking tackles, inside, outside, touchdowns, running game, catching the ball out of the backfield. He will credit his offensive line, and we should too, because they dominated the line of scrimmage. But what a game for John Cornish, and on the defensive side, Charleston Hughes.
Adrian Tate looking for Rambo, and he's in a good battle down the sidelines, and Rambo's heated up. Thought he was interfered with. Tight coverage from Tristan Jackson.
You know, and this is interesting.
Chris McKenzie, excuse me.
You know, this is interesting, and I think John Hufnagel is going to get him out of there, and you know, he's going to get the earful next. I mean, he's going to probably get to the sideline for this, because you know, this is a game that is well in control, and this is a team that hasn't gone through the test yet. I mean, they came off 2 losses in this game. They didn't face any adversity in this game at all. So John Hufnagel is still not sure, and I'm wondering if that's the reason that up and down this sideline in this game, Hufnagel has been on edge as much as he has, because I don't think he knows for sure about his team yet, even though they've got this in control. Sorry,
he's
Chris.
been preaching discipline, and he looks like he wants 60 minutes of it. 40-3, Calgary. On Hufnagel in the grill of Kenyon Rambo, and after the field goal, and well after it went through the uprights, an objectionable conduct penalty against Stanley Bryant. And so Calgary will kick off from their 25-yard line, and the coach pays a visit to his right tackle. Tristan Jackson muffing that kickoff and then getting it just across the 35. 30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on TSN.
I'm worried about my Canucks.
Well, you've got to watch the show, and you'll find out how the Canucks will do.
I'm going to. I'll be watching, because I don't think we have our Kessler's out, right? I think he's out, isn't he?
He's out a while.
Okay.
Mason Raymond's out for a while.
I'm really worried about our Canucks.
And Darian Durant's out for the rest of the game, it looks like, as Ryan Dinwiddie's in. And Dinwiddie throws the out. And that's complete to Kerry Coke.
Demetrius Morley back in for Calgary, so it looks like he's he's okay. He had that injury on the hit on Weston Dressler.
.188 for Durant last week and under 150 today. Wes Keats stopped short of the 50, but it's a first down, and we got a little set to away from the field, or away from the play, a little scrap. You know, Torrey Davis has been taunting the offensive huddle most of the day, and I think somebody may have had enough of it on the Saskatchewan side of it.
Yeah, but you know, this is a concern for John Hufnagel, and I know he's looking at the score clock, so everything's in perspective when he looks at that score. But you know, he's going to be in tight games down the stretch here. He's going to regain first place in the West.
Major foul, face mask. Saskatchewan number 66. First down was gained, back 15 yards, first down.
But the Lions are coming on strong. I mean, 6 straight for them. Edmonton Eskimos are right in the fight. And penalties like this and undisciplined play like this is going to at some point catch them.
Although, well, we saw a scrap on the field. The only penalty is against Chris Best of the Roughriders.
Yeah, but my point being that, you know, you have a 40-3 lead. I understand, and I'm not saying that Chris Best should get away with it either. What I'm saying is that when you're down in the bottom end or the wrong end of a score like this, that frustration, you almost go, okay, you're going to see a little of that. It's kind of like how many hockey dads have said, well, get on the scoreboard somehow, and if you're getting your butt kicked, I want to see you in the penalty minutes department. Although I shouldn't be condoning that. But the bottom line being that the frustrating part, you understand, this is a team that's up, cooling their heels, winning this football games, had discipline problems all year, and it continues.
Dinwiddie, Robinson sidesteps Morley, and then gets knocked out at the Calgary bench at the 46. That's a first down.
Now, I know John Hufnagel has always said that he'd rather than push his team or push his players to the edge, he'd rather pull them back. And he said that since he arrived here in 2008. And maybe they've gone over a little bit too far, and he's got to start really reeling them in here, because he's going to be in tight games where he can't afford those kind of penalties.
Low shotgun snap, Dressler the catch. And Dressler has his first grab of the game with Keon Raymond quickly on the scene defensively.
And Ryan Dinwiddie's having his problems with snaps as well. Mark Parenteau this is something that he's got to get right. I mean, there's no way he should be on the 13th game of the season. This is the play that just happened. That's a low one right down by Dinwiddie's feet. You know, and I know people will say, well, look, part of the responsibility is the quarterbacks, even the one that Charleston Hughes scored when Durant missed it, but he shouldn't be playing shortstop back there in a shotgun. Not at this point in the season.
2nd and 3, quarterback draw across midfield, and should have the first down. Again, the Roughriders in Edmonton, Commonwealth Stadium, Thanksgiving Monday. And a big showdown next Saturday, the Stampeders in BC.
I'm sure a lot of talk this week maybe focused on the quarterback, and should Ken Miller look at Ryan Dinwiddie? Should he try to shake things up there a little bit? I don't know that it'll make a difference. I think if this team is not going to come ready to play and compete at the highest level, doesn't matter who's throwing.
There's Stu Ford. And Ford broke one tackle and gets knocked back at midfield. That's a loss of about 3 for Stu Ford on his first touch.
And you know, when we talk about this with Saskatchewan, it's almost too bad, because you know, there are players that are playing hard, and there are players that are producing. And you know, I think Chris Getzlaff is, you know, he has come in and he has played his heart out. You know, he's played very hard. There will be guys when they watch film in this game that are really working. You can see Getzlaff hustling there and is wide open.
They gave forward progress to the original line of scrimmage, 2nd and 10. That pass delivered low and incomplete. And that will bring up 3rd and 10.
But Neil Hughes played hard in this game. Kerry Koch has run some good routes in this game and is working himself back into the lineup.
Well, we expect to see Fantuz next week, Andy Fantuz. But you think about all the momentum. Fantuz coming back-to-back wins over Winnipeg, as you mentioned. How tough it is to win the Banjo Bowl.
That's what's so surprising. You know, is that, you know, when they win that game in convincing fashion.
Stampeders the football with just under 5.5 to go here at McMahon.
Well, it's a one-sided game in Calgary. Brad Sinopoly's going to get some snaps for the Stamps. Meantime, Stephen Giles ready to go to work for the Argos against the Ticats. That is game number 2.
Thank you, David. We need something to perk up the 4th quarter of a 40-3 game, and why not watch a Canadian quarterback? The kid from Peterborough, the University of Ottawa, Brad Sinopoly hands it off to LaMarcus Coker up across the 20. 4th round pick.
Yep. 29th overall, and a guy that John Hufnagel said he drafted him because he's a good football player. And a guy he wanted to take a long look at has been in that number 3 hole the entire season.
Over 12,000 yards at the University of Ottawa, 94 touchdowns. And he ran for over 500 yards. And on 2nd and short, Coker stacked up. And it's a 2 and out. So we don't get to see him air it out.
But there's lots of time. But there's lots of time to do that. Good game for the Calgary Stampeders up front. You know, and I thought their offensive line, again, if it was a Friday night, we'd be handing a watch out possibly to Charleston Hughes, John Cornish, or one of those big boys up front, including Dimitri Sumpas, number 67. By the way, all those cuts from camera to camera are done by our director, Paul Hemming. I'd just like to say happy birthday to our director, Paul Hemming, who I believe is 32, because I see him, he looks younger every day. 32 once more. What I heard?
He's going to keep celebrating that one until he gets it right.
Our director's always putting it on the line too, so you know that's you never get him flat. I'll tell you that right now.
No yards. Calgary number 8. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
I just want to see Brad Sinopoly get another chance, maybe throw the football a little bit and see.
Might have Nick Lewis campaigning already for being the first target.
Is he over there? Didn't think he'd have to talk to Brad.
And when he's passed, only picked off. Intended for Ephraim Hill with Keon Raymond there again.
And Keon Raymond said going into this game that he wasn't too concerned about the hot streak from Chris Getzlaff, because against Calgary, Getzlaff just had 1 catch in each game. And you know, I got to hand it to these halfbacks, Keon Raymond, Brandon Smith, have both played outstanding and continued to play outstanding all season. It's not been an issue for them when they struggled defensively.
Really underneath, Jason Claymont the catch, and the turf monster got him.
An interesting week in Saskatchewan, though, Chris, and when I say that, I mean that in a game that was so important, Ken Miller can now look at this game film and he can decide who didn't show up. And you can tell, like I mentioned earlier, that the film doesn't lie. If you're not hustling to the football from the backside, if you're not finishing blocks, you know, diving for the extra yard and all those little things, they will pick that up.
3rd down, Dinwiddie takes off, and he'll be stopped just beyond the line of scrimmage. It's another turnover on downs as they get the 3-minute warning here in Calgary.
Housed it? Is that what he called? I'm going to house it?
Yes.
That's how he called it, yeah. Fumble recovery, took it back to the house, sat on the sideline, said, you give me the rock, I'm going to house it.
Not often we do the game story where we get the logo of the one team for all 4 notes.
Yeah, there's no question. No, this was a score that is not pretty for Saskatchewan, the Rider fans, and it's a score that could have been a lot worse. I mean, there were some big plays out there that were just missed, so I think it's that time for Ken Miller and this organization to start to really evaluate their personnel and see where changes have to be made.
Well, Brad Sinopoly's not going to get a chance to throw it, would appear, and LaMarcus Coker can't turn the corner there against Tristan Jackson. And Jackson a little slow to get up.
Yeah,
Jackson
I know.
with one of the hits of the year against Calgary earlier this season.
Yeah, on Robbie
memorable
Bryant.
Collision with Robbie Bryant. And he's got to shake it off and go back and return this punt.
I know we would like to see Brad Sinopoly throw some passes, but I think this is a good decision for Hufnagel. When you're running the ball, less chance of having a guy twist an ankle or get somebody hurt down the field.
Jackson wrapped up by Randy Chevrier. Downfield in a hurry. The decision desk, I think, declared this quite a while ago, but let's get to the standings now, as the West will be complete through 13 games, and the Stamps have sole possession of first place, but they've got the Lions bearing down on them, and they've got the Lions at BC Place next week.
Boy, that BC Lions team looked very good, and not just because of the 6-game win streak, but how they're winning and open up their stadium. A lot of pressure on them last night, and they responded well to it. Down early, came back.
Dinwiddie can't find anybody, and now he gets tracked down. Kevin Dixon brings him to the turf. It's another Stampeder sack, their 4th of the game.
Now Saskatchewan, and while they start to evaluate their personnel at the bottom half of this season, for just a tiny chance, and that's if they can get Edmonton and get a little help, because that season series is still out there.
Dinwiddie underneath, and not much there. A reminder, coming up next, our CFL on TSN doubleheader continues from Rogers Center. The Ticats and the Argos. Live coverage immediately following this game. The old rivals in Southern Ontario, and an Argo win might change the complexion of the East a little bit. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats have designs on moving up in the standings. Good boot by Milo. And Larry Taylor brought down at the 36 with 37 seconds to take off the clock.
You know, and I know there's probably a fan or two out there saying, well, how is it easier to get hurt in a passing situation than it is in a running situation? They're both guys flying around in both situations, but you know, when you're running the ball, everybody's moving forward, in control, downfield, shoulder pads square. You're not turning around. You don't have to dive for a ball or jump up in the air and get undercut or anything like that. It's an in control. So Sinopoly doesn't get to throw in this game.
Well, the Stampeders under John Hufnagel avoid their first ever 3-game losing streak.
Well, I'll say one thing about what I saw on from John Hufnagel today. He managed that sideline from start to finish. I mean, it didn't matter what the score was. Hufnagel was in control down there.
And the shocking stat for a Saskatchewan team that's been in the last couple of Grey Cups, no wins against their Western Division opponents this season.
Yeah, tough to make the playoffs when you don't win those 4-point games. The 2 you get, the 2 they don't get.
Ken Miller said, I took offense when people questioned the effort of the team last week. He may have a different response after this one. The game is in the books. And emphatically, the Calgary Stampeders win it 40-3 to take over first in the CFL West. Now let's head back to our CFL panel and Dave Randorf.
Thank you, Chris. A long season gets longer for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Meantime, the Argos are trying to do something they have not done a whole lot of lately, and that is win 2 in a row after they had their wild win last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on their home field. The game 2 is coming up just after the top of the clock. We're going to take you back live where we hope to hook up with John Cornish, who had a whale of a game for the Stampeders, who just absolutely demolished the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have now lost 2 in a row, and they've been outscored 82-8 in the process. Hold your thoughts. This is a quick post-game setup here. John Cornish is apparently ready, so we'll take you back to McMahon Stadium right now. John Cornish, this is Dave Randorf in the CFL on TSN Studios joining you here. Congratulations on a big win for you and a big performance, a career performance for you. We've told the story all night long about how your coach challenged you guys as a team. How difficult has this week of preparation been for you guys on and off the field?
It's actually pretty funny. We came out this week like we didn't lose last week. We came out like with the same swagger we entered the season with. I think that really changed, our whole mindset, and we came into this game with that mindset, and these are the results.
John, it's Doc Climby here. Congratulations on the win, and congratulations on the year that you're having. I want to ask you something about the way you look at your career up to now. I mean, you've been consistently, as a running back, with one of the best yards per carry averages across the league. And we're talking about comparing to other starters, and yet you have not had an opportunity to start until the last couple of weeks. Tell me a little bit about how that's been for you, whether that's been difficult for you to know that and still not be a starter.
It hasn't been difficult at all. I'm behind one of the best running backs in the CFL of all time. I treated that as a learning experience. And, I still wanted to go out and do, what I'm capable of. But, now actually having an opportunity to, actually get, more reps and stuff, I can actually really showcase what I'm capable of.
John, how you doing? Milton Stegall here. Great job today. And speaking of that great running back in Joffrey Reynolds, how's the transition? How difficult has it been replacing your friend, a legend within that organization, in Joffrey Reynolds?
It's been difficult. I mean, last week it was like, I really didn't, understand the fact that I was actually, going to get the start, because it's just been, 4.5 years with Joffrey as a starter and, me as a backup. So it's been, a bit of a transition, and, I still respect him as, a great player. He's a great friend and a great leader on the team. So, I mean, however it works out, I know, it's worked out well for Joffrey and I.
Hey, Joffrey, Chris Schultz here. I know you're being humble, but I'm telling you right now, young man, you have an opportunity to be the next great running back with the Calgary Stampeders. Having said that, let's talk about your team. Where does your team stand now in making the month of October the best month of football that the Stampeders can have all year long?
We came out pretty hot, and we had a, mediocre, middle of the season. I mean, we know what we have to do now. We know what we have to do to secure first place to get where we want to go in the playoffs. So, it's what we have to do as a team. We have to come out every game exactly the same way we did today.
John Cornish, thank you very much for your time, and once again, congratulations on the win. We'll look forward to the big game next week against the BC Lions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
John Cornish with his